Hi and welcome. I'm Bubka, and you're listening to Accidental Podcast or something like that. Today, guest Iain Abernethy, great propagator of practical karate. How are you, Iain?
I'm good. The signal doesn't seem great actually, though. You've just gone a bit pixelated.
I see you great.
No, you're back again now. You're back again now. Yeah, no, I'm good.
So, as everybody, I just mentioned before, everybody asks you about the practical side of karate and stuff like that. I'm going to try to bring the more human face of Iain instead of karate Iain, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's fine with me. Yeah.
If you could tell us something about you, I'm sure that everybody knows everything about you, but in your own words, what do you do and who you are?
Yeah. So, well, Iain Abernethy, 48 years old, live in northern England, the real north, not Liverpool or Manchester, true north, right on the edge of the Scottish border. I always say if it was Game of Thrones, I'd be on the wall. I'd be the Night's Watch. So I've been doing karate since I was a little kid. It's been my profession for the last best part of 20 years. Travel extensively, to teach and stuff. So, and if people want to know more about that side of things, it's pretty easy to find. I'm fairly active online.
Yeah. So going to my first question, because I went through that process, and for me it was a very, very challenging process of switching from a regular job to being a martial artist or personal trainer or whatever you want to call it. So my first question is, how long did it take you make the decision to leave your work? I think you've been electrician, didn't you?
Yeah.
And go into karate. How long was that process boiling in you, or it was just instant?
A long time. Yeah, it was a long time. I would say work as an electrician. I quite liked the job. The job was the people I work with interesting work, but I wasn't happy doing it. It was monotonous. At a certain point it became monotonous. Every day was the same, and didn't feel I was making any progress with it. So, and obviously the martial arts is something that super infused me, that I just find really interesting and really enjoyable. So what happened was there was this slow process where I got more and more miserable working when I felt I could have been training or teaching. So, and then my instructor had mentioned to me, he was a full-time instructor, and he said, that this is something that you could do. And of course, then that seed is planted. You realise there's an alternative to it. So I was getting drawn in two directions. So there was the fact that the work, although the people were nice there, and it was as a job, it was a good job, but it wasn't my passion. So there was that kind of push away, if you like, the stick beating me away from it, and then there was a carrot of the joy of being able to make my passion my profession. But then I finally snapped. I can remember the exact moment when it went. I was complaining that to Jeff Thompson that I didn't have enough time, with work, and I'd written a book by then as well, and all this kind of stuff. I said, I just don't have enough time, and he just nonchalantly went, "Quit your job." And I was like, I can't possibly do that. How can I possibly quit my job? And then that seed was in there. So Jeff told me to quit my job on the Sunday. And I drove home from training with him in Coventry. By the time I got home, I thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I rang my dad, talked to my dad. My dad was, you should do, you know what I mean? You'll always regret it if you don't. So I went in the next day to work, said to my boss and said, okay, I'm here for the next 3 months. So I've got time to hand over my duties. I don't want to leave anyone in the lurch, and then I'm gone.
So you didn't.
It was a long time coming, but quick at the end.
So you didn't leave yourself the time for doubt. Because I done the mistake. I gave my employer, who's a great guy, a year notice. And it was just it was a mistake. It was just overthinking for a year, especially towards the end. It was just terrible.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, the guy I worked for, my direct boss, he was a good guy. I liked him. And I realised me leaving would cause problems for him, because of certain specialities that I had and certain knowledges that I had. So, I mean, I was required to give a month's notice. And I could have probably handed over my duties effectively in 6 weeks to 2 months, get other people trained up. But I think that 3 months was, like I say, it's long enough that I'm committed, but it's not so long that it wasn't a sudden wrench from one side to the other, you see. But yeah, it was. I was a nervous 3 months because you say the self-doubt tends to creep in that little bit. Then have I done the right thing? Is this going to work out? But you know, touch wood. So far, been difficult along the way at various points, but however it is, 16, 17 years later, I'm still here.
Excellent. So the next question is, what impact did this transfer had on your mental health, and what do you think martial arts have done for your well-being?
Yeah. So the quitting of the job, that transfer. Do you mean what that did for my mental health?
Yeah.
That was a good thing. It was a very positive thing for me because I suddenly felt that it's scary, but I have full control over my own existence now. I set my working hours. I don't have to take. I'm bad at taking orders from people. It's a major character defect. So when I'm in charge of my own ship, it helps me a lot. So that was good for me. But it did, you know, there's nervousness and an anxiety with it. But that wasn't the problem for me. It definitely helped. In terms of mental health generally, I've had anxiety triggered by other things, and I get bouts of depression every now and again. But the training helps immeasurably because it's something I can control. It's something that always makes me feel good, and I know that about myself. If I'm feeling a bit, you can feel, you know, the depression and the lethargy that comes with it starting to sneak in. And if you think of the depression as its own personality, its own entity, it wants to have full control of you, and so it discourages you from training because it knows that if I train, I'll feel better. And I found that if I just, you know, when it hits, if I can physically do something, if I can work and I can sweat, I always feel better as a result. You know, martial arts have been unbelievably good for me mentally because they're always there. There's a consistency with it. I've learned a lot about myself through doing them. For me, you know what I mean, they've been a really useful thing.
I find the same as, you know, from my book. Yeah, we've been covered yesterday. I was talking with Matt Jardine yesterday, and we covered that because everybody says that martial arts are good for mental health. But Matt said that actually it's not martial art itself, it's the teachers using that tool. Do you agree with that?
I would agree it's not the martial arts necessarily themselves. I think it's the fact that it gives you a network of people, you know what I mean, like-minded people. So some of my friends I've met through martial arts are the people who've helped me more than anything. I think the fact that I've learned a bit about myself because it puts you under pressure and there's certain elements of your character you can't escape from, reveals them. And I think the fact that just physically doing stuff helps. I get where Matt's coming from, but I'll be a little bit hesitant with that about saying it's the teacher because I think like mental health is something I feel is always left best to the professionals. So I'm a martial arts instructor. So if people want to come and train in martial arts, I can help them with that. And if that makes them feel better, that's great. But you know, if someone's got mental health issues, I'm not the guy. I've got my own.
I kind of.
So, and it depends what he meant by the question. That's all I'm saying. But
yeah.
I know that's a good guy.
I think I misrepresented that question big time because I don't think that is the therapy itself as well. But I think the positive aspects which can help with your well-being in that way. Not
and the one thing that I will just to bounce off Matt's point is, in terms of how the instructor does have an influence, if you've got an instructor who creates an environment where the classes are fun, high energy, people enjoy the time there, that will be good for your mental health. If you get an instructor who creates an environment that's hypercritical, stressful, sometimes even demeaning, you know, bullying, if not verging on bullying, that will be bad for people's health. You know, so in terms of what your martial arts experience is, that is obviously going to be determined massively by the instructor and their outlook. So I wouldn't say martial arts generically could be good for it because they could be bad for it. They could foster, make things 1,000 times worse if you end up training with the wrong person.
Yeah, which brings me to another question: ego versus confidence, and when the overconfidence is turning into the too big ego.
So you wish me to discuss the line between ego and overconfidence? Yeah. I think there is a fine line there, because I think you need a degree of self-belief to achieve a lot of things. You know, you need to be able to battle through those questions. I guess it would become if those internal questions were never present and there was denial of reality. I think that's when you've crossed the line to ego. So if I'm going to try something, there should be part of me that goes, "These are the risks here, Ian." You know, it's not just a case of do it and it will go flawlessly. I think it's good, a little bit of self-doubt that gets you to question the journey you're embarking on in order to plan it effectively. I think that can be really useful. So if I just believe this will work brilliantly and there's no way I can be stopped, I think that would be a sign that my ego is running rampant. And also, you know, the fact is, like, whether we like it or not, like, at certain points, reality just slaps all of us across the face and reminds us how powerless we can be and insignificant we can be in certain things. So if I was to deny those reality checks, I think that would be a sign where your ego's kind of ran rampant, you know. But there needs to be that self-belief, though, there, I think. You know, that I know that sometimes for me, one of the things, like, through my darker times that can really help me, sometimes it's a sense of defiance that just sparks in my belly, you know, a complete defiance of circumstance. This is a bad situation, it's going to be really difficult, but there's that belief that there's no way I can be stopped. You know what I mean? So in degree, that can sound slightly arrogant, but I know that will drive me forward as well. So it is a fine line. I guess there needs to be that element of self-checking, I think.
Yeah, speaking of that, do you got any system or a protocol that you're checking yourself if you're not getting overconfident?
In terms of reminding myself of to be results driven. You know, I mean, that's if I'm looking at what is happening around me or what I'm achieving or not achieving, that's ultimately the measure, I think. I think there are some people who don't really achieve, like martial arts, a classic example of this. You get some people who believe they're invincible, who legitimately believe that no one can defeat them with no evidence to the contrary. You know, with no evidence to support that idea. But I think it's, for example, if I go and spar and I get shots landed on me, it's a reminder that, yes, you're not infallible, you're not invincible. You see? So I think if I approach life in the same way, is every time there's that little, okay, what's the problem? But again, the mindset there, I always think is, I think the thing is what I call pessimism, true optimism, and false optimism. You know, so pessimism is, you know, everything's awful, I'll never succeed, and I think that mindset is destructive. And then there's the false optimism, which I think would be the realm that someone who's ego-driven or narcissistic would fall into, that everything will work out perfectly, nothing can go wrong. Well, they're just in denial of reality, because that's not the way life works. So to me, that I want to be a true optimist, that I will do my best to achieve my objectives and to get to where I want to get to. But I acknowledge that along the way, I'll get knocked down flat and things will go wrong. And, you know, so I'm wedded to the goal. I'm fully committed to achieving the outcome I want. But I'm not wedded to the method of achieving it. I know that things will go wrong. I know that I'll fail. And again, I think that's martial arts, when it's done right, can teach you that. There's nothing like it for teaching you humility if it's done right. You know what I mean? Because you just realise there's always somebody better than you. You know what I mean? I've had days where, you know, I feel like I'm Bruce Lee. The next day, I've been tapped out or thrown or punched by a person who on any other day I would have no issue with. So it's just a reminder that all of us are, you know, we all have our limits and our ups and downs.
Yeah, it is a great system. You've got that if you are cross-training and you're going out of your bubble, to get that reminder that there are people much better than you outside.
Yeah, I'm lucky because I'm surrounded by them as well. I always think that's a healthy thing. You know, we can, one thing we can control in life is we can choose the people we have around us. You know, to a very large degree. So I like to surround myself by people who do challenge me and do push me. You know what I mean? So, like, I'll point to Peter Constein of this. He's a fantastic instructor to work with, because he doesn't ask you to do anything he's not doing alongside you. You know what I mean? And that kind of training is a constant reminder that I could be fitter, I could be faster, I could be stronger. You know, so again, it keeps your reality, your realistic expectation of yourself in check, I think. while still giving you some positive boost, because occasionally it's like, oh wow, look what I've just done. You know what I mean? So there's a balance to it as well. You know.
Yeah, sure. I kind of always I'm a bit envious of you because of your skill of using scientific measures to do everything. I think everything in your life. Is that true? I'm rubbish with science. I go more with the heart and then worry about it later. You, with every conversation, you are very systematic and very science driven.
I try to be. Because you've got your internal world and the external world, right? My internal world can change in a heartbeat. It can change with a thought. So it's not necessarily the best measure of how things are really going. So I think if you've got the external check, that can help. But I'm as vulnerable as this as the next person is. Sometimes that emotion just suddenly, okay, I'm in control now. You know, and that's when I lose it. So whether that's, you know, anger, frustration, depression, happiness, joy, all of them can be problematic in their own way. But if I can keep myself level and just kind of observe all the emotions and then try and make a better decision, I tend to get better results from it. But I would hate to give the impression that I'm good at doing that, because I fail as often as I succeed. You know, I think it's a dangerous as martial artist. So you know, I understand the process, but I'm still the same guy who will start screaming at the world because I can't find my car keys. you know. So I, on the one hand, I understand how the process is supposed to work, but like all of us, I'm a work in progress, right?
Mm. Yeah. Cool. I like to quote you because I'm rubbish with the kind of eloquent and scientific descriptions. So I've got a problem. I just go look on Iain's website. You've got it covered. There is some formula somewhere like he keeps it. Go and have a check there.
Well, and that's what I do. You know, I think that's because scientific. The nice thing about it is it doesn't care what you feel about it. You know, it's objective. So I think, you know, there's lots of things that science is no good for, but that general idea of not letting how you feel about something to be the overriding determining factor, because our feelings can be. I mean, I did a video on this recently. I think our feelings are very important, and it's good that we listen to them, and that they're very strong advisors. But I think they make poor rulers, and that's the kind of distinction I try and make for myself. You know, if I have a feeling about something, then I should always check that feeling and listen to it, and it's important that it's there, and I need to work out why it's there and what it's trying to tell me. But if I just go, oh, I felt this, therefore I must act on it, generally that doesn't lead to good results in my case. It may for others, but sure. for me, I'm aware that my emotions are not the best judge. So, not really scientific, but that same idea of trying to be dispassionate and say, okay, let's just observe everything and how am I going to address this, that tends to get better results for me.
All right. I change of a set of questions. You travel a lot for your work, not at the moment, but you've been. So the question is, how did you deal with having traveled constantly? I remember we've been talking when we met about you being really tired about traveling, and you've been happy that I said it must be tiring because everybody thinks that it's so wonderful. You're traveling all over the world.
Because there's two elements to that as well, isn't there? Because there's a few actually, but what people see, you know, if they look at Instagram and all that kind of stuff, well, I don't take pictures of myself sitting bored in an airport. I don't take pictures of myself being like, you know, exhausted and, you know, asleep on the plane and stuff. You see, so what people see is the good stuff. So I think sometimes there's an expectation that it's all good. I remember one of the ones I did. It was when I went. This was the second time I went to Las Vegas to teach for Chuck Norris's event. So this is a really big deal. You know, I'm going to Las Vegas to teach at an event where a legendary martial artist is present. And a student of a friend of mine, he's in his 20s, big Chuck Norris fan, wanted to come with me. No problem. You know what I mean? They give me this big room with a couple of beds in it. And, you know, you come with me. You know, so we went, and at the end of it, he said, you know, I just can't believe how tired I am. I can't believe how exhausting that was. Well, that's the side of it that nobody sees. But I've got good at it. I am good at traveling. I'm really good at making use of that time. You know, I'm really efficient with it. I can tell you what, right down to, I know exactly where I'm going to park in every single airport, so I can get in and out of it as quick as I can. I always have all my electronics with me. I know where I'm going to sit, where I can see the screens. I've got work that I can do while I'm sitting there. So I've got really, really good at it. And the three things, there are elements to it that I complain about, but now that I can't do it, I miss them immeasurably.
I suppose, like with everything, practice makes perfect, isn't it? So
That's it. You know, and again, as someone who's got a fairly hectic lifestyle, I can use that time to relax too. So I often, you know, I'll do some work, but sometimes I'll just listen to a podcast or listen to some music, or you know, think a few thoughts. So it's just making use of the time. But you know, it's like anything; it can be hard work. You
know. Yeah. So another one about hard work. You've got two little ones. Mine just woke up and she's crying. So Anna is taking care of her. What impact, if any, has having children on your martial arts?
Well, the first thing is I don't train as often as I used to. You know, so when I'm in my 20s with no kids, you can just train whenever, because you're the only one who matters to you. You know. So on that side, it's taken away from that. The other thing, of course, it's the way I provide for the family too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's an extra motivator, to make sure that I'm really on the ball with it, because that's what my family need me to be. You see, so in order to provide the best possible life I can for them. So, yeah, it really is. As soon as you have kids, everything changes. You just whole perspective of the entire world is now altered. Because up to that point, you're really the only thing that matters to you, you know what I mean? And then you realise, okay, not only have I got to take care of them now, but for my kids, I think about, I want them to know they're okay when I'm dead and gone. So I need to make sure that I set them up emotionally and financially and everything else to make sure they have the best possible start, Just as my, parents did for me, I want to do the best possible thing I can do for mine as well. So that obviously changes your outlook on everything.
Why do you write? Because you said you love to write and you want to be a writer. What's the drive?
Yeah, I do you know what, on that one, there was, I once heard, I forget the name of the author, but it was a radio interview with a famous author who said, he said, I hate writing, but I love having written. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's an element of that for me. There's something quite satisfying when the book is complete. But those early days, the writing, I find that really hard work. But what I do enjoy is when I found my stride with it. The reason I think I like it is because it forces you to structure your thoughts in a very clear way. So it's a chance to really dissect what I think about any given issue, and to make sure that I'm doing so in a coherent and logical way. So I find the process quite meditative almost. It's a chance to really dive deep onto some of my own thoughts. And the satisfaction of having completed it is extremely satisfying. The bit I don't like is in the early starts when I haven't quite got my stride with it. That can be hard work. But again, I remember another author, and I should remember the names of these quotes. He said, writing's easy. You just stare at the paper until your eyes bleed. That's true. I thought, yeah, I know that feeling as well. You know what I mean? Please. The one thing I found useful is I'll just start writing gibberish now, and I found that tends to work, So if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I'm not quite sure, I'll just start writing, and 99 times out of 100, that first part of writing ends up getting redone. Yeah, but it gets me going, it helps me get my stride, and then from there it kind of, it flows. So it's, enjoying.
Cool. Last question. If you had to choose between writing and karate, which one would you choose?
Karate. Yeah. Yeah, no, I enjoy writing, and someday I want to write about. I've got some ideas of things I want to write about that are non-martial. Mm-hmm. But the karate is just such an inherent part of who I am. I think if it was taken away, I wouldn't be me. I've grown up with it. It's 90% of my relationships are people who've been introduced to me through karate. Friends, family as well are trained too. So I couldn't do without the karate, I don't think.
Cool. That's all the questions I've got for you. I enjoyed it very much. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And
it was fun,